So, in one of the more surprising moves of this offseason, one of the big ticket free agents, DJ Reader, 25-year-old defensive tackle, ended up signing with the Cincinnati Bengals, which was definitely a little bit surprising because, I mean, Cincinnati was literally the worst team in football last year, and so they're giving big money to a player who, he's very good, but at the same time, it totally makes some sense. It's not who I predicted he was going to go to, but once I saw it, I was like, okay, I see that because he's a 25-year-old player and has had some really good games with the Houston Texans, and hopefully will continue that with Cincinnati. I mean, he had his breakout season last year. He, really was good last year in 2019, and I think that, maybe he could continue to be that well. He ended up with a career high in 22 hurries. He also had 11 quarterback hits in those 22 hurries, which is definitely a high percentage. And he had over 700 snaps, which was also a career high for him. So, him being a guy who can basically just be a rock in the inside of the line, especially next to Geno Atkins. I mean, that's going to be a tough team to run against, no doubt about it. The contract, some people were saying, is a little bit high. 4 years, $53 million. I think it's fine. I think that's reasonable because I think he's really good. And so let's just get into what I like about him. And, adding a 25-year-old player to your team is usually a good thing when you're trying to rebuild. So it's a really good move, and here's why. So first, let's just show this play where what's going to happen is that he's going up one-on-one against the left guard. This is going to be a passing play, so he's pass rushing here. And basically his goal is going to be get your right arm right there. Get it onto his left shoulder. If you can get that arm there, then you have a lot of room to work with. Obviously, Reader is a very strong guy, so if he can just get past you, he can have a lot of room to run. And watch how he's going to pull this off. He's so explosive there that he is able to pull that off. And then he's, after that point, there's no reason in pausing it again because the play is over at that point. He pulls off that one move, and that's all he needs. He has the explosiveness to do it, and then he's also strong enough that once he gets there, you're going to have some trouble trying to stop him. Sorry, my voice is being weird for some reason, I think. I'm not sure. It's hard to tell totally when I'm just talking. I think it's kind of sounding a little bit weird right now. But hey, everyone always hates my voice anyways, so, I have nothing to lose, really. I also like how he can use really both hands to get around assigned players. Like on this one, he's going to do the opposite, where it's same thing going up against the left guard, but now he's going to try to use his left arm and try to get it to that guard's right side of his body. Because if he just did the same move over and over again, he wouldn't really accomplish much. But watch how. So once again, he's able to get that hand placement, and it's not easy to do. It's not easy to get the hand placement you want, but he does seemingly more often than not be able to do something like that, and then he's able to again pull off the same move. Doesn't actually get to Rivers, but he forces Rivers to throw the ball away, which is not as good, but still very good. So that's one of the things that he can do is just rush the passer and beat one-on-one matchups. He didn't get a ton of one-on-one matchups because of all the extra attention he would get when he was playing for the Houston Texans, but he will get a lot more when Geno Atkins is right next to him, no doubt about it, which is one of the reasons why I think this signing could be very good in the short term. Cincinnati Bengals fans, cover your ears, but Atkins is actually 32 years old. I know we don't want to admit it. He actually just turned 32 a couple days ago. So happy birthday, Geno Atkins. But the fact that he is getting up there in age, it could mean that now you have sort of his replacement, and maybe they can play for a couple years, be good. And I'm sure Cincinnati is saying, hey, we want to be competitive in, if not this year, next year. So let's add some really talented players now. But even if they aren't competitive immediately, at least that now you have someone who can still be a rock in that middle of the field. But at the same time, hey, Cincinnati Bengals fans will tell you that sometimes if you're a great defensive lineman, you can find a way to beat double teams. That's what Atkins has done for a lot of his career, and that's what Reader can do. I mean, this play he is technically getting double teamed. It's a zone blocking concept, so the offensive line just blocks whoever's in their area basically. But the left guard and center are both going to end up blocking him, although not immediately, so a bit of an advantage compared to just a straight up double team. But after the ball is snapped, you notice that Reader is so quick that when he gets through, now at this point, the center isn't really in a position where he can block Reader whatsoever. I mean, he's almost at Reader's back, so all he can do is push him backwards, but A, that would be a penalty, and B, that would be pushing him into your quarterback. So a bad idea on both counts. And then, of course, he's strong enough. He can just overpower that guard, and he's able to help make that sack, get some pressure. And that's what Reader can do. Again, I keep saying it. He's a really good player in the pass rush game for a good run stopper, I guess is the way I would phrase it. Because he's the guy who you put there to stop the run. I'll show those plays in a couple of seconds. But the fact that he can also still rush the passer and rush the passer with some consistency, it means a lot for a defensive line, I think. Like, this play is just a mistake by Kansas City, and what's going to happen is that he's going up, that's going to be the blocking concept, all one-on-one matchups, which that part is fine, but the problem is that you're now relying on your center to have a one-on-one matchup against DJ Reader, which just really is just a bad idea. It's just not going to work out too well, and you're going to see that right after the ball is snapped, watch how far back Reader pushes that center. I mean, probably 3 or 4 yards further back before making the tackle. Again, that's the kind of thing that you hate to go up against if you're an offensive coordinator, a guy like DJ Reader, who it's almost like you have to design all of your running plays around him, which you can't really do. And the reason why you can't really do something like that is because you have Geno Atkins now right next to him. So it's like, what are you going to do? Try to design a play around both of those guys? It's not going to work out too well. That's why it's going to be so difficult to run against them. And listen, the Bengals have a lot of problems. They still have a lot of holes they have to fill, but they're doing a pretty good job at filling a lot of those holes, and that could be a very good thing for them. I think one interesting thing is that because we are seeing some defensive tackles who are like racking up actually really impressive sack numbers and really getting a lot of pressures. I mean, I think about, obviously, Aaron Donald is, he's the obvious one, but you have someone like Chris Jones who gets a lot of sacks from the inside, someone like DeForest Buckner who's great at rushing the passer from the inside. But it's important to not remember those run-stuffing interior defensive linemen. It's important to make sure that those guys still have a role in the NFL, and the teams that realize that and are going to put some effort into getting those types of guys are going to have a lot of success. And I think this move, it really does. It makes a lot of sense for Cincinnati. It's not like this move turns them into a playoff team, but if they make the right moves in the near future, I think if not next year, maybe in 2021, they could be a playoff team. I mean, that's possible. If they do everything else well from this point on. Obviously, easier said than done, but it's possible. One more play I want to talk about, because I think this will show off his athleticism. Like, I think we all get it. Okay, he's a big fat guy who sits in the middle and can't get moved around a lot. That's kind of your perception when you talk about a run-stuffing defensive lineman. But that's not really the case for Reader. He is an athlete, and this play will be a great example. Where first, you're just going to see a kind of funny blunder that happens with Kansas City, where their left guard and left tackle, they both are clearly not on the same page totally, because right when the ball is snapped, they just run into each other. So, that's a pretty good thing, especially for DJ Reader, who now is completely unblocked. So, good thing for him. The downside, of course, is that it's still going to be a run to the right side of the screen, and he has a lot of room to try to get over, and he's going to have a lot of ground to cover to try to be able to make this play. So, it is far from an easy play by Reader whatsoever. This is definitely not an easy play, but he is able to run over and make this tackle. Very good play from DJ Reader, and that just shows off his athleticism to be able to make a diving tackle like that. Not a lot of big guys can make those types of plays, but it's just one more thing that he brings to the table. I really like the signing from Cincinnati's perspective. Even the more I've talked about it, the more I've liked it. Listen, Cincinnati, things haven't gone too well for them as of late, but you know what? This is a good signing. Hopefully this can be a sign of things to come, so to speak, and he can definitely improve their defense. I think it's possible, and let's be honest, it's hard for them to get a lot worse than what they were last year. So, those are my thoughts on the DJ Reader signing. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and of course, as always, thanks for watching.